couple of weeks ago, when the schedule for the conference was first published, I was kind of shocked to find myself on the lineup for Friday. I was like, okay, did I agree to that? Did I even suggest the talk? Tim probably didn't make that up. So I called him and I had the intention to tell him very politely but very firmly that I will not have the time to prepare a talk for the StripeCon. And then somehow during that call I have found myself talking myself into still doing it. So I have no idea how he's doing it. He's the secret puppet master here. So here I am with a case study about an application called Dabei. It's about building a citizen science app in a constrained environment. Does anybody have an idea what a citizen science app is? Someone nodding? Okay. So I want to take you on the whole journey from the first briefing to our architecture draft, and the implementation, the big incident that happened not too long ago, and how we try to unfuck it, and our final key learnings and conclusions. You ready for that? Yeah. Lovely. Okay, the briefing. So everything started a while ago when a professor of the LMU University of Munich, who happens to be a good friend of mine, approached me, and he basically told me they wanted us to build an application to research the Bavarian dialect. And of course, I thought, well, this sounds cool. I want to know more about that. A little bit about the LMU. As I said, University of Munich, this is from their website. They are saying about themselves, the LMU is a leading research university in Europe. Oh, wow. Since its founding in, you can see it's an old university. 1472, it has been committed to the highest international standards of excellence in research and teaching. And reading that, I cannot believe that they really wanted to work with us. So the whole thing, in a nutshell, is an app-based crowdsourcing of dialect-related questionnaires designed by LMU researchers. And they wanted the users to answer these questionnaires. The problem is, answering questionnaires is not really fun. It's not really an engaging thing, and they wanted the application to be playful and, just a joy to use. One thing about naming things, for those of you who wondered, Dabei is like an abbreviation of Dialekt at Bayern. I probably don't have to translate that for you, but this is how the application is called. We've been told that a good user experience could already be like a unique selling proposition, because they looked at all the applications that are similar in the German-speaking market, and a lot of them, they look very, let's say, academic. I think most of you know what I mean. Like if a mobile app is designed by researchers and scientists, you can pretty much see that, period. They wanted to have a blog section featuring facts about the dialect, where it was originated, where certain words are coming from, all of that. Some trivia, if you will. They wanted to report back the results of the research they are doing back to the users, to have an inclusive experience so that the users can really see what they are contributing to. And I wanted to have a leaderboard, which seems to be a popular topic in this StripeCon, with a monthly prize for the first place. So this is the real incentive why people should participate. And of course, they wanted to have a simple content management solution for the non-technical staff in the university. And of course, I thought this is where our beloved Silverstripe can shine. So while talking about that project, we assessed the deal, and it was clear this will not be a huge cash cow. That's always the thing when working with universities. They don't have a lot of money to swing, but still some. And for this project, it was not an option to have our preferred work for equity deal, because, first of all, there is no revenue that the application is generating, and for obvious reasons, it was not possible that we can get shares of the LMU University. But they guaranteed us a good visibility in the whole PR coverage, and we thought, we have the chance to earn some street credibility if we can list the LMU as a client. There was no time pressure at all because we've been told they are like thinking not in months when doing projects, but always in years. So that was kind of nice. And still, we thought it would be cool to work on like an application that is around our native dialect. So we agreed to take on the project. Everything is new, greenfield development, the topic is cool. That's an exciting feeling. So we got right to work, and we came up like with a basic application architecture. We kind of wanted to use our usual stack. So we've been thinking of having the Silverstripe application hosted at Hetzner with 2 instances, using the load balancer, database as a service, doing asset abstraction on AWS, using a simple email service also on AWS. We wanted to use Firebase as an application backend, utilizing the auth facility, and Firestore as a real-time database. And the application was meant to be a capacitor application, like a hybrid application that you can deploy natively for iOS and Android and publish to the stores. So the 3 like audiences you have in this application is, of course, the end user. The end user would only see the mobile application that is available in the stores. The researchers of the LMU would use the Silverstripe backend to hack in their questionnaires and the blog articles and all of that, and to export the results, because we've been confident that we can like create a tailor-made experience, exactly what they need to get their work done with Silverstripe. Well, then us developers, we can have access to the Firebase backend because I kind of like their web interface. And yeah, we suggested that to them. Enter the constraints. So we presented that to the team of the LMU, and they involved somebody from their IT team. And well, they pretty much told us we cannot use any of that. Bummer. So they told us you cannot use any third-party services like AWS or Firebase, especially like when this is like big US corporations. That's a no-go. They didn't have developer accounts for Apple and Google. So, and I've been informed that it would probably take them a long time to get this up and running. And it was also not an option that we publish it under our accounts, because it should be visible that the LMU is like the shareholder and the publisher of the whole application. So no native App Store publishing. It was only possible to host it on their premises, on their IT infrastructure, so no Hetzner. It's not easy to gain access to their resources. It's VPN only, and for a VPN account, you need an LMU account. And to get an account, you need to sign a lot of paperwork. And this would be like extremely complicated to like onboard subcontractor, like for example Dirk, because we intended to have him on board to help us with all like the DevOps stuff, and that's also not in the cards. Plus, they told us you can use our SMTP server, but you can only send a maximum of 1,000 emails per day. And yeah, yes, exactly. So yeah, as I said, bummer. Actually, we walked right into that because I should have known better. I was working for a university for 4 years before I started Level 51, so I should be aware of that stuff. I should have been, really. So we thought, what can we actually do about that? It's back to the planning board, trying to maintain our sanity. So of course, we had to revisit our architecture, and the challenge was not to say, okay, now we're doing everything in a monolith and try to hack it together somehow. The challenge was to find suitable replacements for the part of the stacks that we were not allowed to use. So let's try to go over it step by step. For AWS S3, well, we went down the easy road, so we will not have asset abstraction. We will just pack everything on that one server instance, because it was clear we will only get one server instance, so we didn't have like the problem of how to sync it between instances, so we pack everything on that one server. Easy peasy. Well, with the emailing, I already mentioned that issue. They told us, well, our server has this limit. It has built-in queue, so we can be sure that no emails that we will delegate to it will be lost, but it might be the case that they will only be sent the next day. So as a consequence, it was clear that there cannot be any like blocking processes on email. Imagine if the limit for a day was already exceeded and you have a double opt-in. So you register and it says, click on the link in the email that will come tomorrow. Maybe, or the day after. You cannot do that. So that was the first thing that had like a real impact on our process design. You really have to have this stuff on the radar. So yeah, no Firebase. That was a biggie because like this is like a substantial part of our stack. And we wanted to have auth and like a real-time database. And when looking for an alternative, we want also like the front-end clients, because you don't want to implement that stuff on your own, like a full like client-based auth system that like handles refresh tokens and all of that. You don't want to do that. You want to focus on your project. So we looked in the market for other bases. We were aware of some. We looked at Superbase, at Pocketbase, at TinyBase, and at AppWrite. And I can tell you in the end, the decision was to go with Pocketbase because what we really liked about that approach, it's just a single binary. You can just download the binary and boot it on the terminal. Then it guides you through the process. It tells you, okay, I'm running on that port now. When you first log in, you define your username and password, and you're ready to go. It has its own database inside. It's based on SQLite, and it's really a seamless experience. Plus, no DevOps required. And this was also a requirement for us, since developers doing DevOps stuff, not so good sometimes. And this sounded like a good solution for us. I've been wanting to try that out for a while. I've seen like all the tutorials and all of that. I always thought this was a cool project, and this was the time to engage. All right. So next thing, no Google Apple developer accounts. And that problem actually led to a good thing. We decided to make it a mobile-first web application, not a mobile application, since we realized we don't need like a lot of native features. The only thing we like intended to use, like real native feature, was push notifications. But really, push notifications can be annoying, right? And like we are all getting so many notifications, and there's a thing like notification blindness. So we decided that this is not a priority one thing, and we probably, for the stuff we wanted to send notifications, we thought email probably is fine as well. Also, it gave us the opportunity to register that very cool domain, dialektapp.bayern, very good for like communication purposes. Thing was, of course, it was not possible for the LMU to register that domain, so we did that for them, leading up to a still active support contract, which all of you know, support contracts can be a very good thing. For this project, it is, and it like got us a lot of bureaucracy out of the way, that we just say, hey, we will send you a small bill every 2 months, and for this, we will like take care of the whole domain, DNS, SSL, and all of that. Another upside of the web-based approach, of course, is it's easier to get started. Because I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I need to have a good reason to download a new app, because we have so many apps on our phones. And then you have a new one that is eating up like your space on your device. You have to create your account there and all of that. So just going to a URL is maybe more easy to get started. Yeah. Next challenge, SSH only via VPN. So actually this was the first time that we had the need to deploy from our GitLab CI runners to resources that are in a VPN. We've never done that before. We were like, okay, how we are going to do this? And after some Googling, we came up with a script that we are now using in our runners. I created the gist for anybody that is interested. And I learned that it's just possible to create an open VPN file. We need to do this like on proprietary internal site of the LMU. We need to do this every 3 months because then this file expires. Yeah. So we have our reminder set there. It's a documented process, but it really takes like, it's a 3-minute job to do that all, and 3 minutes or 3 months, that is still okay. So you probably don't need to automate everything. And we just put it as a secret variable to our GitLab, and then, well, the script can kick in and it creates the VPN tunnel, and then we can deploy it as normal. And that was an interesting learning, actually. Yeah, as you can see in the comic, shout out to Dirk. He helped us with configuring our Docker runners, and this was the last thing that I did not find in that forum link at the top of the comments, that you still need to adjust the runner, set the flag privilege to true. I don't know what that does, but it got it working, so just accepted that. Okay. So we ended up with our adjusted architecture. Of course, everything needed to be in this one instance on that one server that the LMU provided for us. We had our single Silverstripe instance there. We had our Pocketbase running there, and it was also delivering the single page application for the web app. We decided, because we wanted to have the mobile first, to still have that native app feeling, we decided to utilize the Ionic frontend framework with the Angular version. Well, I know there's a lot of Angular bashing in the frontend market. It used to be not a pleasant experience to work with that framework, but since they had something called the Renaissance, the Angular Renaissance, that started at version 17. I think we are now at version 20 or 21, and it really has gotten better, I have to say. We are like a Vue.js company when it comes to front-end development, but for Ionic, we still use Angular because it's the largest ecosystem. The most modules and plugins are available for Angular, and you still can feel that they started with Angular, and yeah, this is the reason why we picked that. File storage and the database, everything ready on that one instance. We still have the 3 audiences, and the only real swap was that we as the developers, we are now working with the Pocketbase backend and not the Firebase. So this was greenlit, so it was clear that we can start with that architecture, and we did. One thing I want to mention about the whole data flow, we like that paradigm of CQRS, so having a read database and a write database. So basically, all the write actions that can happen or can be triggered from the end user application, like answering a question in a questionnaire, goes to a REST endpoint in the Silverstripe application, and the token that is created from the Pocketbase that is attached to every request to the Silverstripe is then validated. So these are the dotted lines between Silverstripe and Pocketbase just to check, is this a legitimate user request? And if it is, it's being processed. If some data objects are manipulated in that process, for example, like updating a user record for a questionnaire answered, for example, it is written to the database, and we have that on after write hook that creates a projection of this data, and this is nothing else than creating a JSON document of the questionnaires, of the questions answered, to keep track of the state for this particular user and a particular questionnaire. And we write this to the Pocketbase, and this is where the end user application is streaming the data. So this is the read flow, the write and read flow. For those of you who are not familiar what CQRS is, I think I've shown that in previous talks. This is just the architecture, how the whole thing is working. It was first described by an engineer called Greg Young. It's very popular in the whole event-based engineering world, and we kind of like it for exactly this kind of flow. Okay, so we got working on our revisited architecture, and yeah, this is what the application looks like. As you can see, there are like questionnaires shown on the home screen. This is the one on the very left, you can see your current rank, your points. There's always a teaser for the latest blog article. If you open a questionnaire, you can see there are different kinds of questions. It's like single choice, multiple choice. It's just free text. We have voice recordings. That was a little tricky to pull off, actually. And we have like a progress that you can see how far you are in a particular questionnaire. And that is it. We try always like providing image and video content to make it like a little bit more engaging. But it's not a quiz, right? It's not like a competition thing. It's really like we know it from these scientific questionnaires. It's just answering these kind of questions. But interestingly, I was always worried that users will be bored by that. But looking at the user feedback, users seem to enjoy that. I don't know why really. I just accept it and I'm happy about that. But they kind of do. On the third screen, you can see the results that we're showing back to the users in the blog section. So we always have a map of Bavaria, and then we're showing for like a particular phrase or word. What is the distribution of variations over the state? So you cannot see it properly here, but for example, the last sip of beer, you know, the backwash, if you will, there's a special term for that, and we found out there are like various terms for that. And then the researchers also like create a small text describing and commenting their findings. And actually, this is what I like most of the application. So there are like funny things in there, and all the German-speaking members of the audience. If you're interested, check it out because it's partially actually kind of funny. So we have also a leaderboard. You can see always the top 50 for a particular month. We decided to make it monthly leaderboards that reset on the first of every month, just to give newcomers the chance to still win the prize. Because if somebody joined early on and kept like getting points, it would have been impossible, like if you joined now, to be on top of the list. So it's reset every month. More on that later. The cool bits in the Silverstripe part. Of course, I need to talk a little bit about Silverstripe. It was clear from the design briefing that every questionnaire should have 3 emojis. As you can see, the nature one, it has like a cloud, a mountain, and a flower. And we didn't like want to put this in a free text field because we want to make sure the emojis like look always the same, no matter on what device the backend team is hacking them in, because we know there can be differences if you're on a Windows device, if you're on a Mac device. So the icon fonts vary. So we decided to make it a fixed font and create a little extra field, emoji field, just that we can be sure that they always look the same. We made, I don't think that we released the module yet, but we intend to. So you can define, yeah, who doesn't love emojis, right? So you can have like a minimum and maximum number, and yeah, I think the interface is pretty obvious. So you click on a field, select your emoji, you're there. The tricky part was coming up with the question and answer configuration. So when creating a questionnaire, the basic information was pretty straightforward. Simple data object with title, a description, date from when it is active, simple publishing, like draft and live state. But then when adding the questions, there are so many like options that you can have. It's single and multiple choice. If you want to provide the option that if none of the multiple choice options fit, that you can provide your own text and all of that. And we started with display logic from Uncle Cheese, but it kind of did not live up to our needs. So we created like a mini app. What you are looking at here, this is basically a small injected view application that we used as kind of a form field. And this, of course, gave us all the flexibility we needed. And we're actually doing this a lot. I held a talk about that a couple of years ago. This is our project, how when sometimes the backend features are just not enough for like our tailor-made needs, we are creating these mini apps. And this is kind of great if you want to have a seamless user experience for the backend users, not to send them off to a second application where they have to maintain something, to have everything in the Silverstripe interface, and yeah, just to provide a good experience for them, especially for the non-technical staff, because we all know if it's too complicated, they will just call you all the time, and yeah, you don't want that. So yeah. All right. The incident that happened approximately a month ago, that was kind of shocking. But it started quite nice, actually, because I was up very early on Saturday, August, I think it was the 16th, and I overheard the radio moderator mentioning our application in the news blog. It was like very, very short, like, hey, there's this new app called Dabei from the LMU University. They're working on the research Bavarian dialect, and that was it. Just 2 or 3 sentences. I was like, that's cool, like really cool. Now we're getting traction, we're getting visibility. But then I thought, why are they mentioning us on the radio like now? Is that a good thing? So I called the professor, that friend of mine that came up with the whole idea, and I was like, hey Lars, are you aware that we are on the radio? And I was like, oh, did nobody tell you? We talked to the German press agency, and they released something today in the morning. And I was like, okay, is that good? And I checked the internet, and it was true. So, like, the major German news portals picked the article up and published that. And I was like, okay, that's nice, but I don't know how I should feel about that. Yeah, and then it started. Can you feel it? So Sentry started, yeah, I cannot access Pocketbase anymore. And our uptime tool told us it's not answering. And then we started getting service unavailable. Oh my God. And when I tried to log on the server, deploying small patches, we got this one. So everything was falling apart, literally everything. And it was a Saturday. You know, guys, my employee was on vacation. It was pure disaster. And we found out no mention of us in the articles, and that was part why we took on that project in the first place. So yeah, you can see 100% drama. So can you really feel it, right? So it was really bad. Well, we tried to get to the bottom of this. So what is the reason for all of this? Why isn't our application answering anymore? Of course, it had to be something with the load. A lot of users like bashing the application at the same time. I logged to the Silverstripe backend. That apparently was not the problem. I tried to log to the Pocketbase backend, and that wouldn't load. So something with Pocketbase. So I looked at the leaderboard, and I was like, okay, that's like a live leaderboard. We're streaming that live from the Pocketbase collection. They are using server-sent events, by the way, and not WebSockets. So it is clear they have like a reconnection logic when the server-sent call expires. So I thought maybe something in that regard. But actually streaming the top 40, I thought that the top 50 shouldn't be the problem, because you can limit that. You can say with that get list call in the code snippet, give me the first page. It should be 50 records per page. We're filtering only for verified users, so no guest users in the leaderboard. We have the sorting. We're expanding that, like the user record, because we're joining the tables in the backend a little bit. And that is it. And I've seen in the browser console that still was working fine once the page loaded. So that wasn't it. But I still suspected it had to be something like with the live streaming. And actually, the problem was that one field, that single field, and that's the rank of the current user. Has anybody an idea why this would be the problem? Excuse me?
Sorry. You make a loop of the quizzes that the user answer, and when you get a lot of users that are making the quiz, you get a problem there, maybe?
it's actually kind of similar because you know, the points is not a problem because we just subscribe to that one document in the database. So it's the user, we know the user because he's logged in, and we can see the points, but we cannot see the rank. We cannot see where in the list is he. So for this situation, it's no problem because we know it's the first 50. So we just count them. We sort it by points, and then we know the one with the highest points is like rank 1. So this isn't like not an information we get out of the database. That's implicit. That's a consequence of the sorting. But here the rank, you cannot know that because if you have like a large database, you can query like a certain record, but you don't know the position of the record in the set. And what we did here, actually, we were aware of that this is not ideal when we first came up with that. But of course, we thought, let's worry about that when we get there. There's no problem right now. Yeah. And that came back to haunt us now. Because really, it's similar what you suspected. To find that out, you have to query all the users, to loop all your users, and see when that one user that is logged in is popping up. And you have to remember like all the ranks. You just have to keep track of it. And then once you arrive there, you know, it's that position. But the thing is, with a lot of users in the system, that whole collection changes all the time, multiple 100 times per second. And for all the users that are logged in, we are sending multiple 100 requests per second. So this led up to the point that it took down the Silverstripe application as well because it relied on Pocketbase to validate incoming requests. So this was the reason why also the Silverstripe REST endpoint started to time out. So that one thingy not only took down Pocketbase, but also Silverstripe. So in the end, we successfully performed a denial of service attack on ourselves. So enough about that. Let's think about a solution. And we started researching, and we found out there is actually an accepted industry standard for this exact use case, for this leaderboard use case. Has anybody an idea? It's actually a Redis feature called sorted sets. Anybody know sorted sets? I really wasn't aware of that before in like regard to leaderboards. But with sorted sets, you have an API that you can say add, increase by, and rank. So this is specifically designed for such a use case. So actually what you have, it's like a very small interface. You have your member, this can be an ID or a username, and you have a score. These are always the points. And then these sorted sets, they calculate the rank, and you can query that. Not only the rank of your user, you can also say that user and like padding around it. The two that have more points and the two that have less points. So the neighbors, you can also query them. So for some applications, if anybody is using Duolingo, for example, they also have leaderboards. They have the top 20, and then they have ... and then it's you and the one, your neighbors, like, you know what I mean. So this is exactly that feature, and you can pull this off with sorted sets like really easy. So this really came to the rescue. So I was kind of relieved about that, to learn about that. So what we did, because we wanted to be quick, we came up with a microservice. We decided to go with Bun because it has a very nice option to create single file executables, because again, we didn't want to like install a PM2 setup now on our servers. Again, we are not DevOps guys, and we enjoyed that single executable paradigm from Pocketbase so much that we thought it would be cool to have that microservice also as a standalone service that we can run as a daemon on our server. So we created a very small Bun application written in TypeScript, utilizing these sorted sets, deploying to the server, and streaming these the rank of the current user out of that service. Actually, we used the built-in Redis client from Bun. We used the built-in WebSocket feature from Bun. So actually, we were not in the need for any third-party dependencies. So everything we needed, Bun provided for us. And this was the addition to our data flow. We're now not only creating the projections for the Pocketbase, but also for that one service that is communicating with Redis. And we were able to stream that rank for the current user out of there. And that really solved our problem immediately. So we deployed that. We waited 1 hour and everything was back to normal. That was the one thing that cloaked everything. It was really, if you boil it down like to this one number, it was kind of frustrating, but also kind of exciting to like learn about that whole thing. So yeah. A little bit about the impact of the incident. Let me show you some numbers, because we have 2 KPIs. It's submitted answers to questionnaires, because we don't submit the whole questionnaire, we submit each and every answer, because if a user decides halfway through a questionnaire, it's boring, I don't want to continue, it would be a shame to like lose the answers that are already there, so we submit every answer. This is the first KPI. And we started in April, and you can see until the 15th of August, so the first period, we quite like got some answers in the system, so around 250,000, which is already not bad. And then like within 2 weeks, we tripled that. And now we are at the point that I think in October we will hit the 1 million. But really, in this 1 week, like everything was topped by a power of 3 that we had in the month before. And it was similar with our users. So do not underestimate like the German press agency. So if they like publish something, the news portals, they will just pick it up and publish it as is, probably not even read over it, just publish it. And if you don't have to download an application and just visit a website, people are probably doing this as they're reading of this. And this is what we experienced. So I've been whining about our first world problem here. Oh no, we got a lot of users. Our application is now very popular. Oh my God. And I think it's safe to say that this led up, sorry, same problem as Guy, but for different reasons. I blame it on the BrewDog. And that the Buy is probably now the most successful citizen science app on language and dialects in the German-speaking world. It was frustrating during that incident, but it was totally worth the hassle. And the application is still very well received. And yeah, we will definitely continue with the LMU on that project, and it's still kind of fun. For the Bavarians here, we have some. I can only encourage you to have a look. Answer the questions, please. Read the articles. It's a nice thing there. Okay, you nearly made it. I just want to share on that very last slide my key learnings. Not all of them are technical. Pocketbase, when used correctly, is a decent app backend to work with. Give it a try. You can go on their website. There is a demo login. They have good documentation. If you want to extend it, you can use Go or JavaScript. They do all the support on their GitHub. Actually, it's just like one guy maintaining that, but he's very active. And you can reach out via email. He answers in 1 day. So really a nice project. Yeah. Well, Redis sorted sets, obviously, are the standard for these leaderboard situations. Make sure to check that out if you have like live leaderboards and you want to always like show ranks and do this neighbor feature. Really cool thing. Make sure to include PR coverage agreements in the project contract. Actually, I don't want to blame the people from the LMU, because they assured me when talking to the press agency, they mentioned us. But of course, you cannot make the press put it in. So, but create awareness that it should be a priority, and create awareness that all PR campaigns that are planned should be communicated to the team as soon as possible, especially to the tech team. Dirk is nodding. So otherwise, you know, if you can prepare for that, it shouldn't be a problem at all, because then you can execute stress tests and all of that, because then you know that a lot of users will hit your system. And as I said, that's a first world problem, right? So you want that to happen, but you want to be prepared for that. And as I said before, we were sure, or we were aware that with our mechanism that we came up first, it's not ideal, but all these months it wasn't a problem because we haven't had that load. Where we a little bit screwed up, I think, was that we had the backup plan ready. So that's one of my takeaways. If you have like a weak spot in your system where you know, okay, this is not ideal engineering, we might have to come up with a proper solution for that later if we need it, think about how that plan could look like so that you can just pull it out of the drawer and implement it once the situation is there. One last thing, assure visibility of your brand within the product, if that is agreed on, because even though we were not mentioned in the press articles, we have like a little credit note in the footer of the application. You can see it here a little bit. It says programmiert von level 51. That's very Bavarian and basically translates to developed by level 51 for the LMU. It's linked to our website, and I already got some emails over that channel. So if you have the chance to, you should do that. And you know what? That is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julian. Fantastic talk. It's always good to see that we're not the only ones who make things explode. That's always a reassuring thing in a room. Anybody got any questions or comments for Julian?
Thank you so much for the talk. I really felt your pain.
Thank you.
One tip and then a question. If you have apps or websites or projects where you're expecting press coverage, I would recommend a service like Mention, Alert.io, something like that. You put in brands, terms, whatever you want, and you get notified if they find mentions of you on any press websites.
That's good.
Reddit, yeah. Twitter, or X. It doesn't give you a head-up warning, but it goes a lot faster than whoever you're working with telling you about what they did.
100%, yes.
And then the question, you were talking about capacitor and ionic. Can you elaborate? I guess this is in your standard stack, yes, that you're using them?
Yes.
How do you feel about ionic? Like there's been change up and so on. We're using them as well, so I'm just curious. Are you worried? Are you planning on keeping to use it? Are you happy with it? What's
fair
your
question.
backup plan?
Yes, that is a fair question actually. To be fully honest, I'm a little bit concerned because they've been acquired by OutSystems a couple of years ago. And OutSystems has a totally different focus than Drifty, the original Ionic company, had. And a consequence was they had a massive brain drain. All the key engineers left. And now I don't really know anymore who is developing that and who is maintaining that. OutSystems assured they are doubling down on that. They want to still invest in Ionic. It should be here to stay. But we are not seeing these developments anymore that we were used to when still Max Lynch and team were running the whole show. So I don't think that it's going away anytime soon, but there is like a power vacuum in the whole hybrid application sector, because React Native is huge, of course, but they have their problems on their own. There's now Lynx. It's, I think, developed by ByteDance. That's a company behind TikTok, but that's also not really taking off. There was Flutter, but Google took all the engineers and put them on the AI teams now. And there is now an open source fork, but those guys will not really get going. So I don't have an official recommendation which route to go down when it comes to hybrid applications. But I think my recommendation would be use Capacitor, definitely over Cordova, and then come up with the front-end framework of your choice. So if you're proficient in React or Angular or Vue, use that within the Capacitor wrapper. There's still good stuff going on in there, and this is, at the moment, I think, the safest bet.